Hi everybody! Welcome back to a new studio member monthly video thing. Hi! So today what I'm going to start on is a new series that I haven't thought of a creative, clever name yet. So if you have any, you can please leave them below because I'm kind of if this suddenly comes out with a cool sounding title, I've thought of one. But as of filming this video, I've not. Basically what this is going to cover is how to start up a studio and recording setup on a budget. I was somebody who started voiceover in college, so budgeting was very necessary to get started. And I understand that a lot of people are in that same situation. The tips I'm going to give you in this series are not something to help you throughout the whole thing. It's not something that is supposed to be stuck with. They're just cheap, quick, effective hacks that kind of help you get started so that when you start making money, you can invest in better equipment, in better studio setups, things like that. Most of these things I've used personally at one point, or at least tested them out, and they're things that I did start making money with. I didn't get really high-paying jobs with it, but I got some money here, there, and enough that I could save up and invest in something bigger. It's also something that I recommend for people starting out because it can be very hard to just spend thousands of dollars and drop that down for some studio equipment if you don't know if this is something you're gonna stick with. The example I like to use is I like to play tennis on occasion. I bought some nice shoes, I bought some workout gear, I bought a racket, I bought some tennis balls, probably spent a good $100 on it. And I still occasionally play, but it's something that I really only did for like 2 years and then I went on with my life. We all have hobbies and I am in no way shaming people for having voiceover as a hobby. I think it's something great and it's how I personally started out. So with that, I can understand that some people want to try this out without spending a lot of money, and that's what this whole series is going to be about. So what I want to talk about in today's little mini video is we're going to talk about soundproofing hacks. So there's a couple ways that you can go about soundproofing an area. Now what I will recommend is you probably want to dedicate a certain area of your house, if you can, so that you can set this stuff up once and then you don't have to continuously tear it down and build it back up and tear it down and build it back up, which is what I did, but when I explain why, you'll see how easy it was to do. A lot of people like to take in a small walk-in closet or maybe just a small closet in general, doesn't always have to be walk-in, and kind of soundproof that, and that's something you can do. What I do want to bring up is a couple different setups in this video, and I also want to talk about cheap material you can use for soundproofing. So because it's quicker and it's a shorter list, I will just include the soundproofing things now. 1, you can use blankets, comforters, pillows, anything basically that's soft is going to be your best friend. I know some people have used mattress toppers. I personally find them very hard to lug around. They have a tendency to weigh a lot, so they can fall, so I personally don't use them. Sometimes you can get sound panels, which I'll get now, which look kind of like this, or exactly like this, in some way, shape, or form. Like this kind of thing. It's thin-ish, like an inch or so wide. It's got little ribs on it, so that kind of helps break up the sound, and it helps it not echo back as much. Now those are what are called sound panels, and they can get really expensive. I found mine from Craigslist, from a musician that picked it up as a hobby and was going away from it, so I picked them up for pretty cheap. But that's not always an option, and it was a very, very lucky find, and I'm aware of that. What I do use is occasionally I have a comforter that I will put up, and I normally put it up if it's extremely windy outside and just stuff isn't working. It's something I used before. I used to build a pillow fort, and that kind of worked. You put the microphone inside of it, and I will cover cheap microphones and what are the better versions of cheap microphones to buy out there, because there are some that are not worth it in my opinion. But I will get to that in another video, so stay tuned. But you can build a pillow fort, comforters, blankets, things you can find either in your own house or you can pick them up at Salvation Army or something like that really cheap. So a couple different setups. I've mentioned the closet is a great area. Some people you will see even use their current closet with clothes in it, and that does help muffle some of the sound. If you've taken a class with me, you know that sound is a sound wave and it will bounce off of hard surfaces, so that's part of why you're finding the soft material is to absorb that sound so that it doesn't echo back into your microphone. And hanging clothing in closets do that as well. What I did in college personally is I had a little studio and I took the couch cushions and I flipped them up into like a little teepee and I put the mic in the middle and I threw a comforter over all of us. It worked pretty well. It dampened a lot of the light noises. things like my fridge still kicking on would still get picked up. If people walked up the stairs, because I was on the second floor of an apartment complex, that would shake the floor and that would pick it up. But if I waited till everyone was at work, I could get away with recording with that and not having too much of an issue. There are also tons of videos you can find online, and I'll try and link a couple below so that you can find them, but it's very easy to find people that have designed their own sound panels for that. You can even create your own whisper rooms. You can buy your own whisper rooms. They're kind of like a telephone box kind of thing. Got a little Doctor Who vibe going on there. It's just something that you walk straight into, and you can record and everything's set up and you walk out of. It does take up a good 3 feet, 4 feet, however big it is. It takes up that, but it is something stationary that you don't have to continuously build up, tear down, build up, tear down. But I also know that along with budgets being limited, sometimes space is limited too. Sometimes you just don't have the availability where you live to put something permanent. So that's why I recommend a clothes closet if you have one, or you can kind of make something up in your room. You can also buy these kind of sound screens, and I'll put some pictures up here now so you can see them. So what these effectively do is they block out a lot of the noise if you're speaking. It's not great for if you're recording video games, something that's going to be loud and screaming, but if you're just doing regular talking for, say, a commercial, or maybe it's a job that the role just doesn't require you to scream, it's going to be great for blocking out most of that sound. You'll see that there is some spot above it, behind it, and also underneath it where sound can bounce back if you're getting loud, so that's why I bring that up. So to recap, if you're trying to set up a studio on a budget, I recommend getting some blankets, comforters, pillows, any of that jazz is going to be great. Try and find an area of the house that you can dedicate just towards that if you can. That way you save yourself the hassle of building up the studio and tearing it down. And I know I keep repeating that, but boy does it get annoying. And it can even deter you from wanting to record, because I know that I record a lot more now that I just walk in and press the power button and I can start recording, versus having to wait for everything to be quiet, having to wait for people to leave the house, having to wait for, right now there's a lot of traffic going on outside. I don't know if you can hear it, you probably can, but in my studio, which is right over there, you can't. So it's good. I don't have to wait for anything anymore. And that means that when I have inspiration to record or when I'm really excited, I can go in there. If a client says, hey, can you record in 5 minutes? I can. And it's a lot easier on me. And it inspires me to work more versus putting it off because I know that I'm gonna have to drag this out and it's already put away and I just cleaned this and now I have to pull this out. So it's just a lot easier if that is something you can manage. You wanna try and surround the microphone as best you can with it. Do not put the fabric right up next to the microphone because it'll rub and it's going to be able to catch that. You also want to make sure that you don't really hit the fabric if it's possible, because it's going to make noise and it's going to pick up. So those are some things to look at if you're looking for cheap, affordable soundproofing stuff. I'm going to link what I use below, and what I use in my studio are some of the sound panels, the comforter, which I use on occasion for when it's really windy or when there's excessive noise outside, as I can just pull it over and it's got it on a little hook out there and it just covers up the doorway. I also have orchestra sound deafening curtains. And honestly, if you have the money, it's a huge lifesaver. They are by far the most sound deafening thing. In fact, I can scream bloody murder in that room and you can't hear it in the living room, so it's great. I don't bother my neighbors. They don't bother me because they can be doing whatever. People have been playing video games in my living room and I had to go record and the TV didn't get picked up in my recording. It's wonderful. They are wonderful. I'll link where I got them below. This isn't sponsored. Boy, do I wish it was. It's just I've really had a lot of luck with them. So if you have that in your budget, I recommend it. You get 3 curtains, roughly like 5 feet by 8 feet, and I'll go ahead and leave that below. If you guys have any questions or anything, please let me know. I'm hoping to do microphones next in this series, but we'll see where that comes up in. But please let me know if this series helps, if this is something that I should invest time in as a series, if this is something you want to know is how to get better sound quality for cheaper budget, or if it's just something that doesn't interest you and you'd rather me focus on other subjects. Thanks so much, and I will see you guys next month.